Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Xero Developer webinar series. This is the first one to kick us off. Thanks for answering my little poll that I've popped up. Personally, I love flying, but I just can't get over trains. So I'll leave that up for a little bit longer. It's got a few more people still joining. And I can't believe how far we've got people joining from. I've seen Norway, I've seen Japan, I've seen all over New Zealand. Hello, I'm in New Zealand as well. So thanks for joining us today. My name is Grace Benedek Rooney. It's been a minute since we've done a quarterly webinar, and I really could not be more excited to be here with you, along with the rest of the people on the call today, and I'll introduce them shortly. I am super excited to hear from our valued ecosystem of developers and apps. And whilst we've got a packed agenda, I've also made sure that there is time for Q&A at the end, so we can answer some questions from today as well. So this year we're introducing some new teammates, some new programs, and I've got some good engagement planned, and I'm excited to share that with you. Before we get started, I'll just do a quick little round of intros. So hello, I'm Grace. As I mentioned, I'm the Developer Evangelism Manager. I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand. And if you have been through certification or are working on certification, you've definitely interacted with my team members who are based all over the world and support you with the onboarding. And also we create a lot of the technical content for you. We've also got Annie, who's our head of platform marketing, and she's going to be sharing some awesome insights into our program updates today. Regan, who I'm sure is a familiar face if you've been around for a little while. Regan is going to be sharing some updates as well. And we've also got Brianna here. So Brianna is one of our API technical specialists. She is an absolute superstar, so she'll be supporting with any kind of questions you have today as well. So, as I mentioned, we have a packed agenda, and I'm so excited to be having our team walk you through both our new and renewed programs that make it easier than ever to grow your business with Xero. We'll be taking you through the new annual recertification process that we'll be launching later this year, as well as key API changes, updates to Xero App Store subscriptions, and a really cool opportunity actually with the AWS Lift Program. So stay tuned for that. I'll also be sharing with you where you can meet us in the coming year, both in person and virtually. I think the thing that we really wanted to share with you is 2024 is about a year of listening and action, and we're hitting the road at various different events in person and, of course, virtually as well. And we want to learn what's most important to all of you, our app partner and developer community. I know we do have a number of accountants and bookkeepers and small businesses joining us as well. So I would love to hear from you in the chat if you've got apps and kind of what you're up to, and also gives you an opportunity to keep up to date with the things that we're doing for our ecosystem. And of course, don't forget, we will have some Q&A at the end as well. And we look forward to hearing your feedback after the webinar. So just going to end that poll there. For those that are curious, we got 62% preference for plane and 38% preference for train. So obviously my train pick was not the winner of the day, but there you go. I've learned something new about all of you. The first topic we're going to jump in today is in the theme of listening. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your great questions that you submitted along with your registrations. I found it really interesting what some of the common themes were, and I wanted to go into a bit more detail around some of those key themes that cropped up. The first thing was certification. So a number of people who are joining are about to or are thinking about applying to join the App Store. So you can do that via developer.xero.com. There were a number of really interesting questions that cropped up in regards to your specific circumstances, I'd really recommend you contact us so that we can give you some specific advice around the technical and commercial requirements that your app might have. And Brianna, who's on the call, will likely see those cases as well as our rest of the team later on today. So please do get in contact with us. If you are looking to apply, you just need to go into your app in the Xero Developer Center and click on the application and fill in a form, and that will come through to our team to kind of triage and hopefully get you going on your certification journey. Similarly, along with that, there were some questions around best practices, which I really loved, actually. The great thing is that we've been working on updating all of our documentation for our developers around best practices, in particular where it pertains to certification. So if you head to developer.xero.com, you'll be able to see that launching, and it'll be continue to launch throughout the quarter. So specifically in the next couple of months. So have a look at that. There were also a number of feature requests. Of course, I love hearing these. It's really, really insightful for me to be able to know, and the rest of the team to be able to know, what are the things that are most important to you. In particular, Xero Practice Manager and webhooks came up, and so that's really, really noted, and we're working on pushing that, all of that feedback that came through in your registrations back through to our teams as well. In a similar vein, we had questions around Xero App Store subscriptions. I'm really excited that I've got some good updates, so stay tuned for that later in the webinar. If you do have other feature requests, we'd love for you to submit them via user voice for us. Also, around integrations, there were some specific questions around how to do XYZ with the API or help with rate limits. Again, we kind of need to give you really specific advice. So you are welcome to put those in if you hit the Q&A function in the chat, you can add some of those there, and Brianna might be able to share some links for you. But in most cases, you might need a bit more in-depth support. So feel free to send us an email and our team will be able to help you with that. And then we've also got keeping up to date. Today, we're going to be sharing a lot of updates. We'll continue to share updates regularly every month. We've got a developer newsletter, and we recommend you sign up for that. And you'll see that we'll be posting a lot more on our blog too. There were questions around opportunities with Xero and like, what are we doing? And I would highly recommend listening in very closely to what Annie has to say. She's got some really, really cool things to share today. And lastly, test organizations. If you are certified, we can give you a free org. So you're welcome to use the demo company. It's a really, really useful tool. But of course, if that data resets every 28 days, so if you are certified and you're after some way to test, then we can hook you up with a free org to support you with that. So you can contact us and help us with that. Also talking about a community, look at this fabulous group of exhibitors from Xerocon London. There are so many of our apps represented in this photo. And whilst I wasn't there in person, we had many of our team members there. And I know that they just loved seeing all of you at the Xero App Store's table, which was on the Xero stand. It's the first time I've had a stand table, and I know that that was quite popular. We also had a couple of sessions, and I know that some of you weren't there, but we did talk about app stacks. So we had Madhu, who heads up ecosystem product, and Michael, who heads up the UK partnerships team, talking about app stacks. And app stacks are focused on talking to accountants and bookkeepers about how to find the right apps to solve their problems for their practices, but also for their clients. And that was well attended as well. We also had Sharon, who's our UK-based developer evangelist, talking about how to build an app. And that was pretty cool. There's some interesting problems that accountants, bookkeepers are trying to solve for their practices. And it was really great to be able to highlight our developer partners as part of that talk as well. So thank you to those of you who came along. We really appreciate the time and effort you put in. We also look forward to seeing you at Xerocon Nashville, which is coming up in August. So with that being said, I am going to hand over to Annie.
Awesome. Thanks, Grace, and hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I am fairly new to the Xero ecosystem. I've just completed my 3rd month here, but I'm not new to developer relations in general. And I'm really happy. I was looking at the list of participants. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces and some new ones as well. Nice to see all of you here. So as Grace mentioned, I'm based in California. I'm just outside San Francisco. My team, in collaboration with Grace's team and developer relations, product team, engineering, partnerships, all the kind of good parts of Xero, we look after Xero developer engagement. So if you think about that, that means things like programs, comms, contents, events, etc. And today, I'm really excited to join you to talk about some of the program updates that we've recently launched for Xero Developer, along with some renewed programs. So let's take a look. So 3 things we're going to talk about today. The first one is the renewed partner tiering, which is really just a reset of our existing tiering structure to encourage more consistent and scalable growth for apps published on the App Store. Our second thing that I'm going to take you through is our new growth program. So it's a year-long initiative to accelerate a select group of apps that don't quite fit into that premium tier. And then the third thing is our new app check-ins to help you get started on, those of you that are getting started on the Xero App Store, and learn about ways you can optimize your app listing and feedback with us. So if we look at first at our renewed tiering, so what's new? Okay, so we have the same tiers. We had connected, we had premium, but we've revised the criteria to make it easier to move between tiers and provide more transparency and clarity of the exact benefits that you are receiving as an app partner and who's eligible. So this is a program specifically to start for apps that are published on our App Store. And you can earn your way into the premium tier by achieving consistent subscription growth via our App Store. And finally, what do you need to do? So we'll talk to you. We'll reach out once you make it into that premium tier. But that doesn't mean that there aren't lots of opportunities for apps in our connected tier. Things like featured links, collections, joining us at events, webinars, and many more things. And you're probably wondering, why are we renewing these tiers? So delivering renewed tiers is the first step in re-engaging our ecosystem and providing consistent and scalable growth for apps listed on the Xero App Store. We are aware and we recognize that it's really important to have an engaged partner ecosystem. And we know that that will lead to better apps. And it's important for deepening our partnerships and delivering more value to our shared accountants, bookkeepers, and our customers. And we know that in order to continue and to engage and nurture our ecosystem, we have to evolve our partner programs. And sometimes that means revisiting the criteria. So this is just a relook at an existing program. We're kind of recognizing we didn't quite get it right. And so we're taking another look to make it a little bit better for the ecosystem. Okay, so if we go to our second program, we know that even with the revised criteria, it's sometimes hard to find early growth, right? It's hard to do it on your own. It's not always if you build it, they will come. And so we're really excited to launch the new Xero Developer Growth Program. Okay, so what is that and how is that different? So this is a program that is an acceleration initiative with a select group of apps that may not yet qualify for the premium tier to help increase your revenue and your subscribers. We're kicking that off with a pilot next month, and we'll be bringing new cohorts of apps into that program in following months. In order to be part of the growth program, you actually have to express interest. So there is a link that's available here, and it's available on our blog, and we'll send it out to all of you afterwards for you to express your interest to join the growth program. And the growth program will include things like improvements to your app card listings or your onboarding flow. You might need to reduce your churn or improve your integration with Xero. We might ask you to do co-marketing efforts with us and more. And so that's really why it's important to express your interest. This one needs some skin in the game from you too. So think of this as a program that we're going to go forward together. So that's really cool. And then the third thing we're excited to talk about, the third program we're excited to talk about is our app check-ins. So we want to meet apps at every stage of the journey, right? So where you are in your development and your growth with Xero, whether you're getting started, you're ready to grow, or you are moving into our premium tiers. We want to meet you where you are. So our app check-ins are a great way to get started with us. And the goal of those are to learn more about you and your app and provide you with early feedback, information, and resources that you need to help kickstart your growth with Xero. So in those, you could expect to discuss the resources you can leverage, tips of how to respond to reviews, how you can get referrals, and how you can optimize your app card listing. It's also an opportunity for you to share feedback with us, right? So what's going well? What do you wish we were doing better? And make sure that we're answering your questions and leaving you feeling supported each step of the way in your growth with Xero. Again, this is a program for apps published on the Xero App Store, and you can express your interest for this for a check-in also on that same bit.ly link that we just put up a minute ago, and we'll share that at the end. You can also stick that in the chat. Okay. And just in the spirit of our app check-ins and launching and giving you just a sneak peek of what you might expect, like Grace was saying, we have a ton of resources available on the developer site. If you go to developer.xero.com and go into the docs, you can check out, there's a ton of resources available there already to help you optimize your listing and your app perform better on the App Store. So what could that, very simply look like? Ways that could help you convert. Number one, you need to go out and get yourself some reviews. So I've been spending quite a lot of time on the Xero App Store, looking at apps, relearning apps, seeing who's new, seeing who's been around the block and might just need a little bit more of a boost. Reviews are really important, right? That's customers talking to each other about your application. So get out there and go get yourself some reviews. The second thing is respond to reviews. Not all reviews are positive, right? We all go to restaurants. We all look at Yelp before we go. It's okay that there are negative reviews. Sometimes we all have different palettes. We all need different features. We all want to pay different amounts for things. So it's not uncommon to have a negative review, but the most important thing that you can do is to respond to those reviews. So we recommend you have someone on your team that constantly responds to those reviews, but you need to show and demonstrate to the potential users that you're listening. And also to those that left that review. Sometimes the best thing to do, you can convert that detractor to a promoter by responding to that review. And finally, there's a really great guide that was written by the team on how to optimize your listing. This is something that you will also see a program that's coming out of our team. We'll be announcing it shortly. But we're going to be working really closely with you on how to optimize your listing. So everything from creating a super clear and concise app description, what does your app actually do, in very clear words, to showing screenshots of what it might look like, including a video, and then obviously explaining how you integrate with Xero. So those are all really important things. That's sort of a sneak peek of what you can expect as we begin to roll out these programs and you join us for your app check-ins and move through the tiers or move into the growth program. But I'm really excited to be here, really excited to launch a few new programs, get these off the ground, and keep building more and more engagement things along with the team here at Xero Developer. So thanks, Grace.
Thank you so much, Annie, for sharing that. I'm super excited about that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing apps continue to thrive in our ecosystem. I have just popped up a poll there for our audience, which is on a slightly different topic. So our partnerships team, they do ad hoc training webinars, and we're looking at the kind of next topics that we want to launch. And they're really focused at sales teams from apps and people who are kind of on that journey of accelerating their Xero products. So I have been asked by partnerships if I could get your feedback. So now's your opportunity. So I'll leave that poll up for another 30 seconds or so. In the interim, I am going to hand over to Regan, and Regan's going to talk us through annual certifications and key upcoming API changes. Also, just want to give a plug. If you do have any questions that crop up along the way, please pop them in the Q&A. You can see that little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Regan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Grace. Great to be here. Great to see so many people that have been around for a long time in the chat. It's been a long time since I've talked to all of you, so very excited to be presenting this today. So, annual recertification. Hopefully it does what it says on the tin. So we're introducing a new annual recertification process. It's going to be a self-assessment that we're going to send to apps that are listed on the Xero App Store, and you'll need to complete it before the 31st of August. So why are we bringing this to you? Well, we want our customers to have a great experience using your integration. We know that the certification process is really useful to get a level of what your app is doing and how it should interact with Xero. We're going to use that information that you're going to provide to us in the assessment to improve your integration and help our customers discover your app. So it'll also help how we improve the Xero developer experience and the Xero App Store experience as well. So we're hoping it's going to be a really positive thing for everybody. The assessment specifically is going to ask you about your Xero integration. It's going to ask you about your business. We're going to ask about your Xero App Store listing, your aspirations, and whether you continue to meet our certification checkpoints that you would have been asked to meet during the certification process initially, but also the best ways to get in contact with you when we need to. We'll provide you with some opportunities to give us feedback, ways to improve your integration and give your customers the best experience, ways to improve your Xero App Store listing and succeed on the App Store, and a bunch of information about upcoming and recent changes to the API so that you can prepare for those or take action on the changes that have happened. This isn't going to cost you anything. It won't be as much of an undertaking as the initial certification process was for you. And it's just, it's an annual check-in from us to make sure that you continue to meet all of those requirements of certification. So what's going to happen? In August, we are going to send you an email from our governance, risk, and compliance platform called OneTrust. If you've been receiving security assessments from us, you would have already received some emails from OneTrust, and you should be familiar with the platform that we're using to send out all of these assessments. But the email will come from noreply@m.onetrust.com. Don't be afraid of it. The links in that email are safe to click on. It will take you through to the platform to complete the assessment, and you'll need to return that by 31st of August. If there's any certification requirements you don't meet, we'll work with you to come up with a plan on how you plan to meet those requirements and then see that through to completion. By filling out this assessment, you're going to be helping us keep our customers up to date with changes to your integration and making sure that you're aware of anything that we're doing with the API and improvements that we've made to the API that can affect you. And you're also going to have an opportunity to let us know how you're finding the API and what's going on with it. So it should be a healthy two-way communication that we hope that you'll engage with. So if you've got any questions about this assessment, or if there's anything that's popping out, I will pop a link to a blog that we've just published about the process. Please email api@xero.com and we will respond to any specific questions that you've got about it. But yeah, we're really looking forward to getting this out to you, going out to people that are on the App Store, and you should receive it early August. If you do want to fill it out early though, please do send us an email at api@xero.com. And we can send it to you early. We'll give you a sneak preview and let you in the tent a little bit early on. So on to the next topic, upcoming API changes. So happy to say there's some stuff happening and quite a lot at the moment. The big one that I want to talk about first is the high threshold update, which is going to affect any Xero organization that has a large volume of data. We had originally communicated that this was going to happen in July, but this has been pushed out based on some feedback that we've received to the 1st of September. So you do have some time to prepare for it still. If it does affect you, you should have heard from us already. You would have been sent an email. It's gonna affect a series of different endpoints. There's going to be some changes that you will need to make just to make sure that you are taking into account these large volumes. The key piece of information is really we will have attached a warning to any responses that are going to be affected by this change already. You should start logging those warnings and seeing if you're receiving them. And then the way to tackle it and respond to those is to make sure that you're using filters, make sure that you're able to respond to the fact that you might not get what you're asking for. And if you apply the filters, you should get less records back. There's different levels for the different endpoints. And then the other change that we're making alongside that is we're actually making some changes and allowing you to specify how many records are returned in different responses. And you can select up to 1,000 records being returned to you at a time. And you can set that as a parameter on the API calls that you're making. This one's a little bit complex, so I am going to post a link to a post on our Dev Center about this. And if you've got any questions about it, please do reach out to API support at api@xero.com as soon as you can, and we'll answer those questions for you. The other one is new pricing plans in the UK and NZ. So the class field on the organization endpoint now has a few new values that you'll need to be aware of because we've released some new pricing plans. So if you're using any logic in your app to look at those different pricing plans that we have and take different actions based on that, you will need to update something there. UK payroll employee leave balance updates. So after the 18th of June, the balance will now reflect the correct balance automatically on the 1st of January or the employee's anniversary date for accrual methods. If you've got any questions about that one, reach out to API support as well. Name and size have been added to the object associations endpoint as well. You may have heard through a series of communications. Yesterday, we retired a long-standing product of ours called Workflow Max. We'll pour one out for our homies on the Workflow Max team and remember the product that was. There's been a new product stood up by a company called Blue Rock. They've stood up an API alongside that. So whilst we've turned off Workflow Max and the Workflow Max API, if you are interested in integrating with the new Workflow Max API, do head over to workflowmax2.com and they'll have some details on how you can connect to that new Workflow Max API. From what I understand, they've tried to make the process as easy as possible. So hopefully that's a good seamless switch for all of you. But that's all I've got for today. Thanks very much for having me, Grace. I'll pass back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much. Regan, for those who don't know, used to be a developer evangelist. In fact, I took over from him 5-6 years ago, maybe. Regan, it's a few years ago now. Regan is an OG in our world. Thank you for sharing all those fantastic updates for our community. In other news, we also have more updates to talk about, and I'm going to step you through some really cool releases we've had in regards to the Xero App Store subscriptions. First things first, for those who don't know, we launched the Xero App Store in August 2021. One of the things that launch did was launch the subscriptions API. And what that means is that we are able to enable apps who are listed in the App Store to have their customers purchase subscriptions from us for your app. Currently, well, previously, I should say, we only were enabling that for apps who are also incorporated in the Australia, New Zealand, or UK regions, which is where customers have to be based to use subscriptions. We have now opened that up. So we offer any app who is incorporated in one of the 43 something different countries that Stripe supports to set up subscriptions. There is a full list linked in our Xero App Store documentation on our developer website. Notably, though, I'd call out if you're incorporated in the United States or Canada or places like Singapore, and you have customers who are in Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, you can now set up Xero App Store subscriptions for those customers so that they can purchase subscriptions. We have also launched the ability to set up and manage all different billing models via your app in the Xero Developer Center. And I'm going to show you some screenshots of that in a moment and go into a bit more detail. And we've also launched some brand new documentation as of Monday this week, so just a few days ago, which has done a full update to our technical guide. And we've also separated out and created a business guide as well, so that there's some kind of relevant detail depending on what your expertise is. And you can check that out on developer.xero.com. And if you have already got your integration up and running on the App Store and you're on either subscriptions or commercial billing, we've also got a blog that we've just put out this week as well around managing your connections to help ensure accurate referral fees for the Xero App Store. So I'd recommend having a check through that as well for some tips and tricks. So as promised, I said I would show you the updates to creating Xero App Store subscriptions. So in my team, Brian, who's based in Australia, he's been working on a little code sample. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek of the demo that he is working on at the moment. Of course, it's cheese themed. Who doesn't love cheese? The screen that you can see at the moment is the live plan page. So these are the different ways in which the plans look when you create plans that go live for customers to be able to purchase. You can also create plans. So it's pretty straightforward to do. When you create a plan for the first time, it stays in draft form, so format. So you can see there that it says draft at the top. And in order for customers to be able to purchase this, you have to actually choose to publish it. So it's quite handy if you're prepping a new pricing change that's upcoming. We also now have the ability for you to create plans for all of the different billing models that we support. So as you can see there, fixed, seat, etc. That's really useful, and you can configure that however you want in all the different currencies that we support: Australian dollars, New Zealand dollars, or British pounds. You can have a play with that if you have that set up. Also, notably, the functionality we've released also enables you to archive plans. So if you have existing plans that you want to enable your existing customers to continue to purchase them but launch new pricing plans, you can now archive them yourself. And if you want to republish them, you can republish them. If you want to duplicate it and to a draft version, you can do that. There's some really, really excellent functionality there. As Dinesh has just called out, it's a really great improvement to help you have the ability to self-service and self-manage all of your billing as well. So really, really excited to see more of you start to use that. If you are wondering what I'm on about, if you're on the Xero App Store and you're certified and you can't see the ability to set up and create plans, you may not have subscriptions turned on as a feature, and you will need to contact us. So feel free to do that, and we can turn on the functionality if you're a certified app in the App Store and you want to adopt App Store subscriptions. We can make sure that those functionalities are activated for you so you can build. So I would encourage you to go and use it. If you do have feedback, please share it with us. Our product team is always interested in things that they can do to improve Xero App Store subscriptions. And of course, if you then go on to make those plans live, this is what the purchase screen looks like for your customer as well, with all your different plans, in this case around different types of cheese you can purchase. As I mentioned earlier, there's a really cool program that you have access to. So Xero has a collaboration with Amazon Web Services and the AWS Lift program. So AWS Lift is a program specifically designed to help businesses kickstart their digitization process or journey with AWS. So if you're looking to build an app or a website for yourself or for a customer, if you're a developer partner, you can utilize AWS Lift. And AWS Lift helps you access, I think it's over 200 AWS services, and that's probably pretty helpful when you're on the beginning of your journey. So if you do apply and are approved for AWS Lift, you're eligible for up to $83,500 US in AWS promotional credits. And if you bill $1 on the AWS services within 90 days of joining AWS Lift, you will get promotional credits worth US $750. Those are pretty helpful if you're on that journey. As you increase your usage over the following 12 months and complete each tier, there are additional rewards up to that $83,500 US as well. So if you are after more information, you can go and have a look. The thing I want to wrap with before we jump into Q&A is where to find us. So as I mentioned, we'll be at Xerocon Nashville. We have quite a few Xero roadshows happening this year. You will also be able to find us on these quarterly webinars. So we're planning to hold these webinars quarterly. So we look forward to being able to talk with you through all of our updates. If you want to find us on socials, Xero API on X, formerly known as Twitter. And of course, the Developer Center and User Voice is there as well. We're pushing out regular updates through to our blog. We've got a monthly newsletter, which is going out that went on Tuesday. So hopefully you're able to have a read of that. Plus, we've got API updates, email going out. And of course, our support team is always there to help if anything that you need, you cannot find an answer to. So I am going to jump into the Q&A. I'm just going to have a little look through the Q&A function. I can see there's a few there. I am going to ask one to you first, Regan, which is a question about your security guidelines, actually. Ben asked, where can we find security guidelines from an education and awareness perspective for developers or apps?
Well, Ben, I'm glad you asked. Really exciting topic, something we've invested a lot of time and effort into. There's actually a series of blog posts. If you go to devblog.xero.com and have a look at our dev blog, there's a series of blog posts that we've put out from a variety of authors about these topics. So they specifically relate to the questions that we ask in our annual security assessment that we do for all app partners that are accessing the Xero Practice Manager API or have over 1,000 connections with us. So yeah, go and check those out. Lots of different topics: encryption, multi-factor authentication, making sure that you're looking after your keys for the API, all sorts of great stuff. So yeah, go and check them out. Clap for them if you like them. And if you've got any questions, reach out to us and we'll help you out.
Cool. Thanks, Regan. We had a question come through from Simon. Do we need to create plans with Xero if we just use marketplace apps to redirect to our website? So this is, I think, in regards to using the subscription plans or subscription API, Xero App Store subscriptions for customers. So if you are listed in the Xero App Store and you have customers in Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, and you're incorporated in one of the countries in which we enable you to sell from, then you'll need to set up Xero App Store subscriptions. If you need help with that, we are able to support you with that, and we'd love to be able to also do some testing to support you on that, make sure you're kind of got all the information and you're good to go. And we'd encourage you to contact us if you want to have a deeper discussion around that. Got some excellent people on the team who are quite the experts when it comes to App Store plans. So hopefully that helps you out, Simon. Also wanted to touch on a couple of things. I've seen there's a couple of questions around rate limits, and also we had rate limits come through as a question quite a few times through the registrations as well. I think Devon was one of the people that had asked in the registrations, which was around increasing API rate limits in the future. So I don't know of any plans in the current short-term future around increasing API rate limits. I just want to be transparent around that. We do have a number of things that support you with that. So we recommend that you utilize the headers that come through in the return payload when you are making API calls. If you're really struggling with API rate limits and you have some troubles there, then please talk to our API support team. People like Brianna can give some really helpful pointers. They're absolute whizzes when it comes to the API, and they may have some suggestions that you hadn't thought of, and would love to be able to support you with that. The other thing I wanted to mention there is if you are an app which is certified on the Xero App Store, you can get access to a feature called Rapid Sync. And what Rapid Sync does, and it's a feature that we will turn on for you if you would like it, because it doesn't work for everyone. But what it means is if you have a connection originate from the Xero App Store, we can allow you to basically not have rate limits for the first 30 minutes of that connection. And that's really helpful for, people who are trying to sync out a lot of data, like a reporting tool, for example, and you want to get a whole bunch of data so that you can get them up and running as soon as possible. And that's a really, really awesome functionality. I know some of the apps that I've worked with who have implemented that have found it super helpful. So if you are certified App Store, then I'd encourage you to get in touch with us so we can help you get access to that feature as well. Let me have a little look through here. I wanted to address another question that came through from Will as well from the registration form. Will asked, how can we improve and optimize our integration? I actually really loved this question. I think I'm super passionate about just keep developing, keep working on your integration. It's something that keeps your customers happy and also opens up new opportunities for you for other people who may not be able to use your product unless you expand your functionality. So tons of things that you could do. I really recommend having a look at certification checkpoints can be helpful, just so you can see our most up-to-date recommendations around the kind of customer experience that we expect you to have or expect for new customers to be able to experience. I also mentioned earlier that we're launching these new best practices guides. So they are also quite helpful if you're looking for tips and tricks from us around things that you can do with our API and different bits of functionality that you might have on offer. I think the key thing though here is there is a huge amount of value in talking to your customers and being able to understand what it is that they want. I know that a number of apps who've asked me this very question have gone on to set up customer advisory councils, or they've had accountant and bookkeeper advisory councils where they're able to talk to them about the functionality that will help solve the biggest problems for them in their day-to-day work. And I think there's a lot of power in that. So I'd really recommend that you have a chat to them. They are the ones using your product, so I know that they'll have some really good feedback for you. We also had a question come through from Gert, which was around publishing an app on Xero and what the requirements are for that. Specifically, they'd asked about a required tech stack. So we don't have a required tech stack. You're welcome to build with any language or program that you want to. We do have some tools available for you, SDKs on GitHub, which you can utilize, and those are in a range of different languages, so you can leverage that. Really, the requirements you have focus around making sure that you meet our certification checkpoints. So you're free to use the tooling that works for you as a developer. That's always helpful. I think I'm going to wrap it up there for today and let you all get back to your wonderful day wherever you are in the world, if you're in Japan or Sydney or someone's in Norway. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And if we didn't get around to your question, please feel free to shoot us an email and we will find an answer for you. I know there were some questions which require a little bit more time than we have today, so happy to chat through that with you separately. For now though, a huge thank you from me and from Annie and Regan and Brianna and all of our team at Xero Developer, all of our product team, our engineers, working our hardest to support you in the best way we can. So thank you so much for coming along, and you can find us coming up very soon. Appreciate it. Talk soon.